quiet East Coast town at the centre of horror this morning. A man tied up with cable ties assaulted, dragged outside and his Coles Bay home torched.
Hello, I'm Linton Besser. Welcome to Media Watch. And first tonight, a shocking home invasion in Tasmania. A man attacked and robbed, his home set alight. Detectives clear-eyed from the outset as to the alleged motive.
He's been targeted solely to take firearms, and it's sickening.
Early reports had the victim in question owning no fewer than 9 guns at the time of the burglary, a fact which prompted what you might think was a rather routine question at an official government press conference 3 days later.
Isn't it the case, though, that if there were more people with more firearms, it's more likely that a robbery like this will occur?
The Tasmanian Police Minister, Felix Ellis, was incensed, however, and delivered this.
Can I say that is just the most outrageous example of victim blaming for people in the media and others to say that law-abiding firearms owners are the problem in this case is absolutely wrong and disgraceful.
Then wasted little time packaging up the exchange, reposting it online and telling his followers the incident really irked him, and prompting the respectful online debate we've all come to expect.
It's always a left-wing retard that want the guns gone.
Media victim blaming. That journo is a maggot.
Wonder if that rat-fuck journo wears 2 hats. Like, is he an op for ASIO?
The Journalists' Union swiftly demanded an apology, which was duly granted not by Felix Ellis, but rather a media advisor. The press still seeking to hear from the man himself.
Why won't you apologise to the journalist you attacked on Tuesday?
I think more broadly, this is a moderation issue, and we could have done more when it comes to moderating the comments. And, you know, in good faith, when he contacted us about that, we took those down.
Very magnanimous indeed. But why was the police minister so quick to take offence in the first place? Might it have something to do with this explosive story 4 months ago?
Top cop ignored.
Revealed. Commissioner's plea over gun limits.
That plea from Tasmania's Police Commissioner to the very minister in question rocked Hobart, revealing almost 9,000 Tasmanians owned 6 or more firearms, and the state's glut of more than 150,000 guns presented a risk of
firearms theft. Even legally registered and stored firearms can fall into the wrong hands, enabling serious criminal activity. Public safety must take precedence over firearms ownership.
7 News adding to the pressure, explaining the top cop was
at odds with the government calling for a cap on gun ownership.
We have more firearms in the community than we did at the time of Port Arthur.
Rather than listening to his commissioner, the police minister instead released a gun reform proposal that featured no cap on gun ownership at all. And on the day before news broke of that violent gun theft in Coles Bay, there was this.
MPs have condemned Police Minister Felix Ellis for disbanding a task force looking into firearms legislation. The task force was set up following the Bondi tragedy.
We spoke to the journalist involved, who did not want to be identified, citing the concerns of his family. He told us he's well used to the rough and tumble of journalism, but
it's worrying to see this growing trend of attacking and discrediting the press to deflect scrutiny.
Felix Ellis did not go so far as a full-bore Trumpian assault on the press, but he certainly flirted with it, knowing surely that he was riling up a pro-gun constituency to which he's been pandering. But he should not be swayed by the algorithm, because political attacks like this on journalists are not in fact signs of strength, but signs of weakness. And we turn now to the science fiction reality in which we all live, and a landmark speech last week from the Prime Minister.
A plan for a future that's already here.
If we hang back or stand still, this will just run right over the top of us.
Australia launching an artificial intelligence office to oversee a world-first national set of standards.
With the spectre of artificial intelligence looming over every corner of the economy, the ailing media industry got the pledge from Albo it had hoped for.
Protecting Australian artists and journalists' intellectual property, demanding AI pay a fair price for the content their tools scrape.
Anything less is theft.
Music to the ears of the hard-working team that puts out the PM's local rag, the century-old Canberra Times, who, perhaps a little hopefully, saw in Albanese's speech
an explicit guarantee the Wild West-style hijacking of intellectual property to train advanced AI models will not be accepted here.
And that's because the owner of the Canberra Times, Australian Community Media, is already doing battle with rival news sites littered with AI tripe, including
The Daily Canberra.
Canberra local news every day.
Which boasts such local news as this.
With Canberra's winter lap lanes busier than ever, the city's outdoor aquatic venues offer a surprisingly compelling cold water alternative.
Helpful to be sure, even human-reviewed, but only when required. Which clearly wasn't the case here. A sentence celebrating a network of forest trails that feed directly into discussions? The article recommending a leisurely dip at the Googong foreshores where swimming is prohibited, as well as the Manuka and Dixon open-air swimming pools, neither of which are open in winter. Which is strange, Canberra being so balmy at this time of year. 2 days before Albanese's cri de coeur, one of the excellent humans who staff Canberra's real newspaper exposed the man behind this AI enterprise as Canberra property developer Shane Anderson, who used the website to plump one of his projects, a luxury development in the ACT district of Belconnen, but whose ambitions were never so parochial as just our nation's capital, establishing daily news sites from Ballarat to Brisbane and from the Central Coast to the Gold Coast. In Sydney, Shane's operation was busy last month reporting a shark surveillance program. Important news, perhaps, but it was plucked not from its own notebooks, but from those of the staff of the Sydney Morning Herald. And in Perth, a write-up of a food and wine festival, which had in fact originally come from a journalist whose salary is paid by the West Australian. But why stop there? Because Shane Anderson's entrepreneurialism is as boundless as his imagination. His AI tool apparently metastasising mastheads in Osaka, Shanghai, Abu Dhabi, Lisbon, and more than 180 other cities. Impressive, you might think, but for the fact the businessman was rather shy about discussing his wonderful endeavours with us. The AI revolution has in fact spawned a faux industry of faux news. The ABC identifying in May another example of this pink slime journalism, a catalogue of titles that included the so-called Bunbury Guardian, which reported on that pillar of the community, the
WA Fire and Relicup Unit.
And a serious criminal case illustrated with fake images of what was clearly not the crime scene. Another example, this website, which, despite appearances, is not the Newcastle Herald, but a facsimile. Once again, carrying AI baloney, including this report on the Archibald Prize winner, complete with thought bubbles. The subject of that glorious portrait also wandering around eating canapes. This website's operator careful to cover their tracks. ACM's cease and desist letter citing misleading and deceptive conduct sent to an anonymous inbox in the Bahamas, but nevertheless appears to have had the desired effect. The website since vanished. ACM's managing director told us the dangers these sites present is very real.
If AI is allowed to continue consuming real journalism and regurgitating it for free, the risk is there will be no real public interest journalism left. It needs regulation.
Nine Entertainment spent last month grappling with some 30 million attempts to scrape its websites. Its chief executive, Matt Stanton, telling us,
"It's nothing short of theft. These individuals or companies, in their sheer-minded determination to profiteer in the AI space, prefer to steal our content rather than pay for it."
Most troubling, unfortunately, these AI fakes are in their infancy. And while we can laugh at the errors now, the machines are improving at a rate of knots. It shan't be long, I fear, before it becomes very difficult indeed to discern the real from the unreal. And that, far beyond the need to protect traditional news publishers, is the emergency. It's nothing short of existential. And finally, to the very normal and happy state of British politics.
Today, I will resign as a Member of Parliament for Clacton-on-Sea, thereby forcing a by-election.
2 weeks ago, under heat over his failure to report a series of secret benefits, 5 million quid from a crypto tycoon and an untold sum from a convicted fraudster known as Posh George, Nigel Farage lit upon the perfect strategy. Rather than defend his conduct before 2 parliamentary inquiries, he'd recontest his seat in a by-election, only for the major parties to turn their backs on the stunt and refuse to field candidates, setting up a Farage face-off for the ages.
One of the only few who say they will stand in the Clacton by-election is Count Binface.
The fate of the empire in the hands of a man dressed as a garbage can.
Nigel Farage will be up against Count Binface. And, of course, the Count now joins us.
Good morning, Miss Reid. Good morning, Mr. Balls.
In the absence of any serious challenger to Farage, seasoned journalists have been busy with what they're never quite sure is journalism or satire.
What is the signature policy that's going to take you over the line?
Nationalise Adele, build at least one affordable house, move the hand dryer in the gents' toilets at the Crown and Treaty pub Uxbridge to a more sensible position. Because as you can imagine, that's a national issue.
The British press booking the bin for interview after interview, including on the venerable BBC.
What is your appeal going to be to the people of Clacton?
Well, I'm not Nigel Farage.
It's a full manifesto.
And with an Ipsos poll, not of Clacton's voters, but the wider public, showing Farage lagging well behind the bin as preferred candidate, the question had to be asked.
Can you win?
Probably not, but then, you know, my job is to celebrate and defend the wonders of British democracy. And look at this, eh? The fact that you're interviewing me on the Today programme.
And why aren't the other parties fielding candidates?
Are they running scared from old Binny? Or do they think that Nigel's running a cunning stunt? And I pronounced that carefully at 8:55 in the morning.
Meanwhile, the rest of the world is marvelling not for the first time at the Brits and their special ways.
Conte de pubelle.
El Conte Cubo de Basura.
Farage versus Count Binface.
The clash that perfectly sums up British politics.
So who is Count Binface? Comedian John Harvey, whose name has been known for years, an occasional presenter on the BBC and Times Radio, having stood against Theresa May as Lord Buckethead in 2017, against Boris Johnson 2 years later, and, more recently, against Andy Burnham for the seat of Makerfield. Though, for the disgraced former GB News presenter Dan Wooten, Binface's true identity was a national scandal just waiting to be exposed.
Breaking right now, I can unmask Count Binface, the so-called politician trying to beat Nigel Farage in Clacton. I can unmask him as a leftist wannabe comedian. Let me show you the real Count Binface. Here he is, John Harvey.
Somebody get this guy a Pulitzer. Of course, the real joke is on Nigel Farage, who may already regret going to the polls. The archly conservative Telegraph declaring the move a catastrophe.
The prospect of a potential Prime Minister spending sweltering August days arguing with a man in a metal suit smacks of a PR disaster.
As some have pointed out, it's also a needless exercise for the people of Clacton, now being forced to choose between a clown and a man who wears a can on his head. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on ABC iView, as well as YouTube, Facebook, and also Reddit. You can find full statements on our website, and don't forget to send us your tips. See you next week.